Housecalls. Coming up on today's show, Toronto Humane Society rescued a number of dogs and birds from deplorable, horrific conditions in a West End home in Toronto last week. Today we'll meet a couple of the dogs. One is a 4-week-old puppy. The other had to wear a shock collar. We'll give you the details and figure out what can be learned from this and an update on the investigation as well. We'll find out details about a group called the Companion Animal Adoption Centres of Quebec. They've set up a system to transfer rescues from puppy mills in Quebec to Ontario shelters. And Easter, just around the corner. It's a time when you think it's okay to adopt a bunny. The Ontario Rabbit Education Organization is here to tell us why you should hold off. Plus your calls and questions for the vet. Today we are thrilled to be joined live by Dr. John Allen from the Royal York Animal Hospital. First up, Toronto Humane Society, Trace Smith, always helping out animals, and what an incredible story last week. You were able to seize 5 dogs that were living in just squalor and deplorable conditions.
Deplorable.
Tell me how you first got wind of this situation.
Well, we received a tip from the public in regards to the conditions there, the smell, the sounds that were coming from the
neighbors,
shed. Neighbors, yeah, they were just upset with the smell and the noises coming from there. And Toronto Animal Services actually told us about it too. And yeah, this is one of the Azores cattle dogs that was there, the male. He's actually on the show today. We had to actually pull him because he was so aggressive, but you know, given what, less than a week and a little bit of human interaction and socialization, he is the most awesome dog. If I didn't have too many dogs at home right now, I'd take him myself. But see, this is the conditions. See, you can see how much inches thick of feces. That's where the Azores cattle dog was sleeping, in that feces.
And I understand that it was pitch black.
Absolute darkness. You can see here, this is a little bit of video that I took from my phone. That's the mom of the little pup that I have here, and there's piles of feces and urine everywhere. There's a light source now, but there was absolutely zero light in there when I got there. I had to find the light source.
Was there heat at all?
No heat, no ventilation. You can see
the birds, those beautiful, sad birds.
There's about 80 to 90 birds that were living in and amongst the animals there. The conditions were just absolutely horrible, and it was something out of like a medieval torture chamber. It was actually quite scary to be in there. There's all these tools and weird things there. It was really weird.
That's just terrible. So tell me about the investigation, and will there be charges laid? I know that you may not be able to give us too much info because I know that this is ongoing.
Well, all I can say right now is that this definitely falls under the new Provincial Animal Welfare Act, the new revamped OSPCA Act, and we're going to be looking to, you know, press charges under the new provincial act that we have going on right now.
And how much, you know, how many teeth does that act have, or how strong is that as far as what charges you can lay?
Well, they're definitely under standards of care for animals. There's certain rules and regulations and laws you have to abide by as an animal owner or a breeder in regards to standards of care for animals. And this gentleman definitely did not adhere to any of those standards of care rules and regulations, so we're going to be moving forward under that.
So 5 dogs came out of this. Where are the birds now?
The birds were actually there.
I mean, are they still there?
Yeah, well, no, he's getting rid of them. He's a collector. They're all banded. He's going to be giving them away or selling them to other collectors and stuff.
Are you keeping a close eye on that?
Absolutely. I've already been back twice to make sure the conditions are good. I brought an avian specialist in with me the last time I went from the Toronto Humane Society to make sure the animals weren't in any distress. They weren't in any distress when we went there.
Were they living in their own feces as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, were they fed?
Yeah. They weren't fed species-specific food, but we made sure that he changed that very quickly.
That's just terrible. But again, kudos to you, Toronto Humane Society, but also to the community for being the eyes and ears once again for animals, for birds in distress. That's just awful.
You know, I need the public to be my eyes and ears, because without them, 90% of my calls will go unanswered.
Very good. All right, let's meet the newest, I guess, poster girl at the Toronto Humane Society.
She's quite the little finger chomper, but thank heaven she doesn't have any teeth yet. She's a little bit too young for that, but she's a little. The guy who I took her from said she's a purebred Portuguese toy dog. They didn't know exactly what the name was, but we're
Where would
thinking.
She have come from?
Yeah, Portugal, I guess.
No, I know, but was she the result of? I mean, there were 5 dogs altogether.
Oh, okay, yeah, there were 2 Azores cattle dogs.
The mom was there, but yeah.
Yeah, and the mom and the dad to this little puppy was there, and they were separated, but she was with the mom, and the mom looked like a long-haired Chihuahua or something like that.
Curly back tail.
Yeah, I'm calling it a long-haired Chihuahua cross-type dog.
So she, you know, it's amazing when you showed the viz, we on Animal House Calls just a moment ago, the mom wagging her tail still, it's incredible the resilience that these animals show.
It absolutely is. You know what? I just flicked on that light. It was so dark. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face in front of them.
You could smell everything, though.
The smell of urine and feces hit me like a brick in the side of the head.
Poor little
It was
souls.
everything I had to keep my lunch from coming up. It was horrible, and there was zero ventilation and light in there. So, the fact that this little girl here had to live in those conditions and possibly for the rest of her life just
Mommy,
upsets
who's
me.
so happy to see her rescuer, Trey Smith.
Yeah.
So, who's up for adoption? This little pup is 4 weeks old. What's happening here?
Well, this little pup is being hand-fed right now. So she's going to be available for
finger-fed, I think.
Finger-fed, yeah. So she's going to be available for adoption in the next month or so when she's of weight. The mom and the dad, the mom had already stopped feeding her because she got an infection in her underneath area.
I bet veterinary care was just something that they never had.
Absolutely not. So that went unanswered, but we gave her the veterinary care she needed. And I'd like to say that thankfully someone came down and not only adopted the one, but adopted both of them. So they went home together, the mom and the dad.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
They've been adopted. So we have 2 Azores cattle dogs left and this little beautiful little cute puppy.
I want to bring in the cattle dog. This little guy, and I think he's little because but he's a little guy. He's like a pup.
I'll tell you something about this dog. I've never not even heard of an Azores cattle dog before, but I've never actually seen one. They're one of the most beautiful, regal-looking animals I've ever seen.
Look how confident you are in, his calmness and kindness. Now, I hate to show this, but this is the collar and the chain and the shock.
When I found these dogs, this guy was barking a lot at me, and quite frankly, he wanted to tear my face out because he knew nothing other than his innate, desire to protect his area and the female that he was with. But after, 1 week, he's the nicest dog. But this is what I found on him. This chain was so wrapped so tight around his neck, he could barely breathe. And of course, you see these 2 things here, the prongs. This is what delivers the shock to the neck. So every time he barked, these prongs delivered a nice little shock to his neck. Not too humane, what do you think? I wouldn't say so. And the chain was embedded in his neck into the fur. At first I thought it was embedded in the skin, but thankfully it wasn't, only in the fur. But we had to take bolt cutters to cut this off his neck and get it off him, and thankfully so, because I don't think he ever wants to see something like that
So
again.
if you don't provide adequate care, veterinary care, standards of care, then you are going to be responsible for what happens next.
Absolutely.
And the law is going to come and get you.
Yes, up to $60,000 in fines and 2 years in jail under the new revamped OSPCA Act.
He's up for adoption?
He is up for adoption now, and I'm thankful. You know what? But you're going to have to get by me first, because this is one of my pet projects now. I love him to death. I want to make sure he goes to the best possible home. So I'll be doing the adoption personally, I think.
Lesson learned here, Trey. What is it?
Keep your eyes and ears open, because you never know if your neighbor's got a garage full of animals, unbeknownst to you. But just do what you need to do. Even if you think or just assume someone might have something going on in their garage, it's best just to report it, because it better be safe than sorry at the end of the day.
You know what? They've had a tough life so far, but they're lucky dogs because they now have a new leash on life. Thank goodness.
Absolutely.
And thanks again, people having the wherewithal to know something was wrong and do something about it. Thank you, Trey Smith.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Coming up, your chance to ask the vet, Dr. John Allen. We're also going to give away 2 VIP guest passes to the All About Pets show this weekend to everyone who calls in with a question for Dr. John, and that we are able to put on the air, of course. And Dr. John represents the Royal York Animal Hospital. Here are the numbers within the GTA: 416-872-CP24. That's 2724. Toll free 1-888-863. CP24. Email us animalhousecalls@cp24.com. We'll be right back.